Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome and thank you all for joining today's symposium. My name is Janice Davis. I am the Age-Friendly and Health Equity Program Manager for Urban Health Partnerships. I also have on the line today Micah Roman from the city of Miami, who has an amazing presentation, which is what you are all here today for, and also Isabel Rivera, who is our COO at Urban Health Partnerships. The Age-Friendly Initiative for Miami-Dade is a collaborative effort where older adults can stay active at all ages and engage and age in place with dignity and enjoyment. We seek to create sustainable changes in our community. We are led by 8 lead agencies. We have AARP of Florida, Alliance for Aging, the Health Foundation of South Florida, Florida Department of Health, Miami-Dade County, Miami-Dade County, the Mayor's Initiative on Aging, Miami-Dade TPO, United Way of Miami-Dade, and also Urban Health Partnerships. And we are a collective impact framework where we work on policies, systems, and environmental change for our communities, because that is the biggest bang for your buck when you look at policy. You can impact the greatest number of people while using the least amount of resources.
Hi, this is Terry.
Hi. Thank you all for joining. If you've just joined, can you please put your microphones on mute? So there are 8 domains for age-friendly living, and today we are going to focus on the civic participation and employment domain. That is involving making sure that there is adequate and varied opportunities for training and employment for older adults. And when Michael presents, you will learn more about what the city of Miami is doing and how it can be replicated in other communities across Miami-Dade County. And why are we talking about civic engagement today? Well, it involves many aspects of being involved with one's community, whether it's voting, being politically active, volunteering. There's so much that involves civic engagement, and it helps people create a sense of belonging in their community. There's also some research that shows that communities that have more residents involved and engaged have lower crime rates. It also helps residents to develop the KSAs to become agents of change in their communities and give them some sense of ownership in their community. And it's also very important, given that our demographic is aging. As you know, we have a large number of older adults in Miami-Dade County, and that number is also growing. And so it's really important that those voices are heard. And with that, we have our mini grants initiative. So far, we've awarded 15 mini grants. Round 3 was launched last year, 2020. We had 5 awardees, including the city of Miami. We had a meeting back in June for our stakeholders, and at that meeting, Michael presented about the civic engagement program, the Empower 60 program, and we had so many questions as to how did this program get up and started, how can the cities replicate this program, what was the results, how engaged were residents. Can you please put your microphones on mute? Thank you. And how were citizens involved in creating an action plan for their communities? And so today we are honored to have Michael talk to us about the Empower 60 program. So Michael, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you so much, Janice. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for hosting this and for having me on today. First and foremost, I do want to give a huge thank you to the Miami-Dade Age Friendly Initiative. Because of you all, this Empower 60 initiative was really made possible, and we could have not done it without you. So thank you so much. So the City of Miami Empower 60, it was a program where we were engaging older adults so that they can learn strategies on how to be more civically engaged. Now, it's very interesting. The Department of Human Services, my counterpart, Susana Peñaranda, and I have been working on a civic engagement curriculum for quite some time, and toying around with this idea. So of course, a lot of this planning happened pre-pandemic. So we did have to maneuver slightly differently so that we can offer different things and meet the needs of the residents. But in a nutshell, City of Miami Empower 60 was a 4-week academy. We tried to have it in each of the 5 districts in the city of Miami, and it was specifically designed for older adults, ages 60 and older, first and foremost as a civic 101, government 101, but also to learn the best practices of how to engage and, more importantly, how to work with local government. For some people that have heard me speak out in the community, one of the things I always say is local government is power in our back pockets. And, just knowing the power that you have within your local government goes a long way. So what we did is we provided a weekly course for 2 hours. The course was facilitated over the course of 4 weeks, and it helped participants increase their engagement, educate their neighbors, learn about government's role and impact, as well as promote engagement. We covered a variety of topics from public safety, clean and beautiful neighborhoods, growth and development, education and economic access, culture, recreation, and as well as efficient and effective government. After all the residents completed the course, they were given, stipend. They have opportunities and tools in their toolkit. But the great thing was they created a civic engagement plan, and I'll go over what that civic engagement plan looked like in just a little bit. We wanted to keep the program eligibility pretty basic. Of course, City of Miami residents, ages 60 and older, and must be available to participate once a week in a course for 2 hours over the course of 4 weeks. Because of the pandemic, we did engage the communities. Some opted to have it virtual, some opted to have it in person. So we did meet the needs. Of course, when we met in person, we made sure that we followed all CDC guidelines, mask wearing, social distancing, etc. What I'd like to go over now is just go over briefly the curriculum each week, just so you can get an understanding of what the older adults learned. Week 1 was a very introductory class. It was Government 101 and knowing your local leaders. Now, the interesting thing though is for those of you that live in the South Florida area, there's always an interesting dynamic of knowing what's the difference between the city and the county. Who are the players in the city? What do they do? Who are the players in the county and what do they do? So that was the first thing we wanted to go over. Now, I must say that one of the things that we did also, but in the very beginning of week 1, is we administered a pre-survey. And that pre-survey gave us a baseline knowledge of what these participants knew at that present time. Fast forward to 4 weeks, we also were able to give a post-survey to see how much information or education was learned over the 4 weeks. And I'll go over those findings in just a little bit. So besides learning the difference between the city and the county, we also talked a little bit about the city manager and his team, the commissioners and commission meetings. We also really discussed who in the commissioner's office might be a good contact. As we know, sometimes our public officials are they have a lot of work on their plate. So sometimes knowing who their chief of staff or their administrative assistant is can actually be very beneficial. And we provided the constituents with that contact information for each of the commissioners and their offices. We also went over all the various ways that they can voice their opinion and participate in commission meetings. And once again, we went over some other elected officials and their contact information. Briefly, you're going to see a photo of just one of the classes in Little Havana. Over the course of this symposium, I'm just going to sprinkle some photographs just to give you a representation of what we saw. Going over week 2, we started going a little bit more granular. We talked about public safety. We discussed clean and beautiful neighborhoods and parks. Among those discussions, of course, we dived into the specific commission offices within the specific communities. Some of our districts have neighborhood service centers. which are essentially satellite City of Miami offices. So we provided detail about those neighborhood service centers, as well as code enforcement and police. It's very important to keep in mind in the City of Miami, our communities have specific code compliance officers, as well as neighborhood resource officers that are given that specific community. So we wanted to ensure that the residents within that community actually knew those individuals by name. We also discussed all of the functions of solid waste. We talked about the scheduling of solid waste, what they do, how to report illegal dumping and trash, how to advocate for that in the community. And we also discussed parks, and we went into all the local parks and the programming of those parks in their specific community. So although this is a general view of what we covered every week, it is important to keep in mind that within each class, within each community, the content was slightly different because the parks are different, the communities are different, and those individuals that represent the communities were different, sorry. So we had to slightly tweak each class for the community to make sure we're providing them with the pertinent information. Next, you'll see a photo of one of our other classes. This was in our Flagami area in District 4. Going over week 3, we talked a little bit more about growth and development of the community and economic access. Diving into the specifics of those of week 3, we talked a little bit about a community redevelopment agency. What is a CRA? Some of our communities, not all of our communities in Miami, have community redevelopment agencies. And we think that it's very important for residents to know what CRAs are, how do they become implemented in other communities, and how can they advocate and ask for things like that in their communities. We also dove into a lot of our Department of Human Resources divisions. I currently oversee the Opportunity Center. The Opportunity Center is a division that is tasked with working with residents and employers to get livable wage jobs for our residents. So we dove into how to connect with the Opportunity Center. We also talked about the child learning centers that are located within the City of Miami. The City of Miami owns and operates 3 child learning centers in District 5. So we did go over that information. We also highlighted all of the health programs and initiatives that the city oversees. We discussed the housing programs, other economic initiatives, and as I mentioned earlier, our satellite offices are our neighborhood service centers. This is an image of one of the virtual courses. This was in District 5. We worked very closely with the Hadley Park AARP, and they were one of our amazing groups as well. The last week really dove into efficient and effective government, as well as how do we all work together. So we wanted to make sure that the final week, while we were really, the previous weeks we were going into all the details, the final week we wanted to make sure that we were putting a bow on this present and tying it and making sure that we were doing a good job with empowering our residents to be empowered. Now, during week 4, we discussed a little bit more about all of the resources that the city has to assist older adults. We discussed golden passports, all the different options for transportation, the senior or older adult feedings that the city oversees, how the government and the residents can work together, and each specific participant's role as a community connector. Being civically engaged really means that we want them to assist us with connecting us with the community. Now, one thing that's important to keep in mind over the entire 4 weeks is from the first week, we actually started discussing the civic engagement plan, and we provided the residents with a template to use. Over the course of every week, at the end of every course, we discussed each individual's plan, civic engagement plan, what they wanted to work on, what are some ideas, which contacts or divisions or departments which within the city need to be engaged. So we were working over the civic engagement plan over the course of the entire 4 weeks. I am going to have quite some time at the end for some Q&As. So if you bear with me, there isn't much longer on the presentation, but I want to go over everything for you all. I did want to talk a little bit about the accomplishments. With this mini grant, we were able to engage 18 City of Miami residents to actually participate over the entire 4-week curriculum in their respective district. Part of their goal was to reach out to 5 of their neighbors to discuss this Empower 60 initiative. So our total reach with the 18 individuals, with the 5 residents that they had to reach out, and with the AARP chapter that was engaged, we reached a total of 240 residents. The 18 residents were provided a small stipend for their participation. We supported all the participants in the development of their own civic engagement strategy. We presented opportunities to implement the civic engagement strategies, and we encouraged participants to evaluate the success of the program and created a guide essentially for other local governments. Just a side note, we did have a special commission meeting yesterday, and I did notice that one of the individuals that was part of this Empower 60 program was part of the public comment during this commission meeting. So it was really nice to see the participants put all of this effort into actual action. As I mentioned, we did do a pre and post survey. The first week, and I just wanted to go over some of the information, 69% of the participants did not know the difference between the city of Miami and Miami-Dade County. Now, 100% do. 20% did not know the mayor of Miami. 33% did not know their city of Miami commission district. 31% did not know their city of Miami district commissioner. Now, 100% all do. 50% did not know the city of Miami services offered to older adults. 6% did not know how to connect with the city to learn about the services. And 88% had not even heard of the Miami-Dade Age Friendly Initiative. Once again, all of that was changed to 100%. David, I do see that you did ask a question about the civic engagement projects. I am going to go over the topics right now, and there is an image that shows the template of what the civic engagement plan looked like. The most significant result, as I mentioned, is that 100% of the participants created a civic engagement plan. It included the participant's vision for his or her community, their North Star. What do they want to see in a perfect world? Then there was a quadrant that they were able to list their topics and issues of concern. We had a quadrant that would contain pertinent information to key city staff that can assist with that specific civic engagement plan. It also included options and recommendations for the neighborhood in relation to that civic engagement plan. And finally had a quadrant that listed implementation and next steps. So David, this is what the civic engagement plan looked like. As you see in the top, I removed pertinent information, but in the top where it says civic engagement plan, it had David's civic engagement plan. We listed the district and the city where that resident lives and the community within that district where the resident lives. Their overall vision, so this specific individual had an overall plan to build a healthier community through more police visibility. His topics included speeding, police visibility, community policing, illegal dumping, trash, and homeless. As you can see the quadrant, I listed myself as the main contact, but we also listed the Model City Commander, the Model City Neighborhood Resource Officer, the Recycling Coordinator with Solid Waste. During the evolution of the civic engagement plan, this specific resident gave some recommendations. Police should be spread out through the community. Regular meetings with police and the Hadley group should be happening. There should be flyers that are distributed about illegal dumping. And then we discuss some implementation and next steps. The first thing may be to connect with the police to coordinate an informal meeting to discuss the community's vision of what community policing looks like in their community. And then, of course, I would connect with another neighborhood because I'm aware of an organization in Little Havana, Healthy Little Havana, that is really addressing illegal dumping. So one of the things I did was connect the Charles Hadley group with the Little Havana group so they can talk about the work that they've been doing in their respective communities and, you know, work together in addressing those issues. Some of the community topics that were discussed over all of the courses where the older adults really wanted to talk about voter suppression within their communities. They wanted to talk about the high cost of FPL specifically for older adults, gun violence, community involvement, illegal dumping and trash, police visibility, community policing, a creation of a senior advisory board, housing issues, and homeless. Now, one of the things I want you all to keep in mind is that some of the things that are listed in these topics, the city, local municipality is able to help with. However, there are some things like voter suppression that may be larger than what the city can do. I just wanted to go over how the city was able to maneuver through some of these. So for example, with voter suppression, of course, there's voter information that we can give on a local level. So if the residents really wanted to learn about the voting for their mayor, for their commissioner, we can connect them with the city clerk's office to get that information, to get all the resolutions and the policies around our local voting. However, earlier in this discussion, I talked about how local government can be power in your back pocket. And if voter suppression is something that is a state issue, that it's a larger issue, how can these older adults work with their commissioners, with these elected officials, and help advocate for voter suppression on a larger platform than just local government? If you can go to the next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about the impact. The impact is participants are now heavily engaged. They feel a sense of empowerment, through a lot of the community engagement activities and events that I've been in. I've reached out or have seen a lot of the participants that were involved in this. And now there is a sense of, I feel empowered to voice my opinion. And when I hear that from these participants, it really puts a smile on my face. We're in the midst of creating a sustainable plan to continue the program. The impact is older adults now, at least the ones we've been engaging, are more active beyond just volunteering. Historically speaking, a lot of older adults are placed in, well, if you need something to do, go volunteer. There's so much power to go beyond volunteering, and we see that as an impact. We awarded them, some of the individuals, we awarded them all with certificates of completion. So here are a couple images of some of the groups with their certificates of completion. And then I want to talk a little bit about lessons learned and sustainability, because I think that's going to provide some answers to Janice's question about what advice do we have for municipalities looking to replicate this? How much planning was involved in the program, and how did we get buy-in from our elected officials, or did we at first? So first of all, going over some lessons learned, I want to talk about COVID-19 creating social isolation and a need to connect with community more so now than it has ever been. And flexibility became a key while we were implementing this, because we did hear some older adults that wanted virtual and some that felt that social isolation. And we're hoping that we can create a safe space for them to come and meet, which we did. Once again, the program needs to be adapted to each community. I did see in the chat from Michelle that it looked like the presentations and engagement plans were customized toward the unique traits of each community. And yes, Michelle, they were. Our communities are completely different. When we are out in Little Havana, the way we engage, the way we speak, the way we communicate is different from Little Haiti. It's different from Edgewater. Our communities are different, and the needs of the community are different as well. Now, recruitment was an initial challenge. Once again, I think COVID-19 has created a large hurdle for government when we are engaging community. I think that the recruitment was an initial challenge. However, we were able to continue working with our community partners. We've learned in the city of Miami that working with partners that are trusted in the community, at least with the work I do, is one of my recipes for success. Me just telling the residents to come to an event isn't enough. But when churches and trusted partners in the community are involved in the planning, they're also telling the residents to come to the event with them, then we actually see powerful things happen. The last thing I will talk about before we go into sustainability is really answering Janice's question about what municipalities need to do to replicate this. The first thing that we can do is I'll be sure to have my contact information sent for you all so that you can reach out to me. We do have a PDF booklet of all 4 weeks combined that I can provide you, generally speaking. It took a lot of planning in the beginning just to make sure that we were creating a curriculum that was very conducive of what we wanted to accomplish. We wanted all the individuals to leave knowing as much as they can about the city of Miami and how to work with the city of Miami. So the creation of this curriculum was probably the most time consuming. We did start off by dissecting each 4 weeks and saying, okay, what are some of the larger topics that we can discuss each week? And then we started fine-tuning it and developing it week by week. I would say it easily took about 6 months of planning before we even started the program. And that was just to create the curriculum and the tools and make sure we had the tools. Now, we did have buy-in from the mayor and from some of our elected officials. Oftentimes, when I first was brought into the city, I first was hired into the grants department. So whenever I'm working with grants, I make sure that we're bringing in as many players as possible. So because we did have the buy-in from them, we did have support from the elected officials to not only promote, but also to help engage some of the older adults. We also utilized our neighborhood service centers. Our neighborhood service centers used to be called NET, and the NET team, which is now our neighborhood service centers, oversaw the older adult issues for the city of Miami. So because we still have the neighborhood service centers, we were able to tap into the already existing infrastructure of older adult engagement that the neighborhood service centers already created. I will be more than happy to answer some specific questions about how other municipalities may be able to roll this out. However, the last thing I wanted to talk about is sustainability. Of course, because we saw how great this curriculum was, during the course, we were getting emails and telephone calls from older adults that wanted to participate in the course. We also got some feedback. So we are exploring whether it's a full day or a half day consolidated course. The reality is we did see a few of the participants not complete all 4 weeks. So we wanted to make sure that we're offering other options. We'll continue to monitor how successful a consolidated course would be, because we want to make sure that we are not losing any of the pertinent information that we want to provide our residents. We are currently meeting with other partners to share the curriculum and share the materials. We know that this works so well in the city of Miami. We want to make sure that it works in other municipalities. Whether it's Miami-Dade County and a partnership between the city and Miami, or whether it's other municipalities throughout the United States. But we do see the power of older adults being more civically engaged. We do see that it's no longer a finger pointing game, but that we are truly working together to create healthier, thriving neighborhoods. And then, of course, the question of all sustainability, specifically after a grant, whether it's a mini grant or not, is how do we sustain this with no funds? Luckily, we have the infrastructure. So while we may not be able to provide the residents with things like stipends to entice them, we are still hoping to roll this out and continue this initiative without the funds. However, that brings the questions for other municipalities that do not have the funds. One of the things I may mention is if there is a Department of Health and Human Services, if there is somebody within your local government that's already overseeing older adult issues, it may be pertinent to see if this could be one of the projects, not to overwhelm them, but that this could be one of the projects that they could oversee. And of course, because they have the city of Miami, they have me as a resource and a tool, we should be able to guide them on how to do this with no or with very little funds. Now I want to take some questions and answers from anybody. Let me see if anybody answered on the chat.
Hey, Michael, it's Janice. Before we take those questions, actually, we have Mayor Levine Cava on the line, and she would like to say a few words real quick before she has to leave.
Of course, we love our mayor.
Hello, Michael. Thank you so very much. I have listened to your presentation, and Susan Holtzman, who's our advisor for older adults and mental health and disability issues, turned me on to today's program. Certainly, it sounds great. Congratulations. And we are looking at possible replication, and consistent with my desire to do citizen engagement training. Of course, that's my bread and butter. I did have a question for you as well. Of course, we'll look at your tool that you offered. Thank you so very much. And I guess, it's clear that you've had an impact on these folks. Have you encouraged them to also participate, for example, in the budget hearings?
Yes. And that was one of the conversations we also discussed about creating the advisory board. The city of Miami used to have its own unique older adult advisory board. There were some issues, and then they combined them with some other boards. But now, because of this momentum, we are hearing from some of the older adults that participated in Empower 60 that they would like their own advisory board. So some of them are advocating for that as well. But part of that is civic engagement, not only during the commission meeting, but all meetings that the city of Miami is offering, from budget to everything else. So yeah, that's something. We've also, I'm creating, at least under me, with the individuals, the older adults that I'm engaging, that my very own listserv, so that I can continue sharing all of the events that happen with the city, specifically for them. So I can give them a call, I can send them a text message, and I can let them know, hey, we have a budget hearing. It's very important to get your feedback.
And the stipends that you gave, could you say how much that was and how important do you think that was?
Yes, they were $50 gift cards, Visa gift cards. They were extremely important because most of our older adults are on a fixed income. So any little bit helps. They had mentioned, they'll be able to go to the grocery store. One of the things we also did is we provided light, healthy snacks as well during the curriculum for those that were in person. So we wanted to make sure that we were providing them, with whatever they needed. Very interesting, some of the older adults as well, really, asked about, some other opportunities, whether we can do Sedano gift cards and things like that. So we were looking at trying to meet their needs.
Yes, that's been my experience when we did it for Publix. They wanted Sedanos. So in the past. Yeah, great. Well, thank you so very much. And thanks for others who are listening in, and to the Age-Friendly Initiative for all of your leadership. I'm going to hop off, but we'll look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you again, Michael. Great.
Thank you,
great
Mayor.
work.
And we'll be more than happy to share everything with you. I'll talk to Ms. Holtman.
Perfect. Perfect.
There's going to
Okay.
be a slide about the budget hearing at the end.
Oh, there's a slide about the budget hearing coming up. Okay, because it's tonight, 5 o'clock. Woohoo.
Great.
Thank you.
I know Myra had a question about the stipends offered for participation after the completion of the 4-week-long academy after individual. So it was after the entire 4-week academy. So after they participated in all 4 classes, the last class at the end, we provided them with their certificate, we provided them with their stipend, and we printed out their final civic engagement plan.
Hey, Michael, this is Willie from the town of Miami Lakes. Great job, sir.
Oh, thank you, Willie.
I just want to commend how you leverage the partners and the other agencies within the town, within the city, to increase the outcome. And something that I'm very familiar with, and I congratulate you. You have to leverage those partners, and you guys did a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you so much, Willie. Yeah, for example, in Little Havana, we work very closely with an organization, a nonprofit organization called Healthy Little Havana. Healthy Little Havana has a great infrastructure using community liaisons. That was actually a framework created by Urban Health Partnerships. And the community liaisons, they are hired, they live in the city, they work for Healthy Little Havana, and they are engaged with residents in Little Havana. So when we were doing this, we reached out to Healthy Little Havana, and they, they provided all the assistance in recruiting through their community liaisons. And that's just one of the various community partners that really assisted with this Empower 60 initiative. So thank you for noticing that, Willie, because we love our community partners.
Yes, sir. And Michael, in the healthy eating component, that's another plus. I love it. I love it. And I would love to connect with you offline, just to go over some things that we're doing here and how we can potentially partner up.
Of course, Willie. Yes, I'm 100% on board. I love working with other municipalities and sharing lessons learned and how we can be sister cities and partner up to make all of our communities as healthy as possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're stronger together, man. And I appreciate you, Michael.
I appreciate you too. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Janice, if you can go to the next slide. I know you placed my number, but I just wanted to give all my information. I'll give you, I know I should have said this in the beginning, but I've been with the City of Miami for 6 years. I'm in the Department of Health and Human Services. I'm the Community Partnerships and Strategy Manager. I also oversee the city's Opportunity Center, and I am the city's LGBTQ Advisory Board Liaison. So those are 3 of the many hats I wear for the City of Miami. I always ask everybody, if you need anything for the City of Miami, even if I cannot help you directly, I will be more than happy to connect you with my fellows in the City of Miami. So you have all my information. I'm very good with responding via email. So if you need any information, if you want to meet even virtually so we can kickstart your local government, your city, your county, creating an Empower 60 program, I'm your man and I'll be more than happy to help you.
Thank you, Michael. That was such a phenomenal presentation. And as you all can see, this is why this was one of our most requested information sessions. It's such a phenomenal program, and civic engagement is so important, especially among our older adult population. So if you have any questions, please, please, please reach out to Michael directly. He is more than willing to answer any and all questions. I know because I've hounded him previously for slides to share with other cities. And we're also going to share the recording with you. Michael, there's a question in the chat for you regarding the link to the PDF for the program.
Yes. What I can do, Ken, if you can email me, I will either send you the PDF or I will do a link through WeTransfer. Would it be easy if I did a link through WeTransfer right now?
Yes, and Michael, we can also share it after as a follow-up to the call with everyone, if that's okay with you.
Of course, we'll do.
Thank you.
And we also do have an evaluation. We'll also be sure to send this out, but if you can please let us know how we did and also to help us plan for future events with your feedback. We would appreciate if you would take the time out to complete our evaluation form as well. And thank you, Isabel, put it in the chat. And speaking of opportunities to get involved, we have our Age-Friendly Initiative work groups and subcommittees. We have our social media platforms, so please follow us on that. And we mentioned earlier about the budget hearings for Miami-Dade County. The next one is actually this evening, excuse me. It starts at 5:01 p.m. and it's going to be held at the Stephen P. Clark Center, located at 111 Northwest 1st Street, Miami, Florida, 33128. It's a great opportunity to go listen to what's in the budget proposal and get your public comments in. And also we have our age-friendly newsletter, so please subscribe to that as well. That is all that we have. I'm going to leave this slide up just in case anyone needs to write down the address for tonight's budget hearing. But just do one more check. Do we have any last questions for Michael?
Before any questions, Janice, I just wanted to mention one, I did put a WeTransfer link to the Empower 60 little booklet. I also wanted to mention that we also had this in both English and Spanish. So one of the things that was time consuming as well was translating the entire curriculum to another language. We're hoping to have it translated into Haitian Creole as well. That may take a little bit more work, but just wanted you all to know that that was something we did as well, because we did see the value of the community members speaking different languages.
Thank you, Michael. And Myra, I went back to the slide with Michael's contact information for you. And we can also email this out to you all as well. And so with that, are there any final questions before we say thank you? Well, seeing as though there are none, Michael, we thank you so much for taking time out to share this phenomenal program with everyone. There's a lot of interest and we're looking forward to having it replicated throughout Miami-Dade County and who knows, possibly throughout South Florida and the state of Florida one day. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your schedule to attend our sharing symposium. Please complete the evaluation form that's in the chat. Michael did put the PDF for the curriculum into the chat as well. And Isabel and I will make sure we email that as well. And we thank you all so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Janice.